Put out into the deep water and let down your nets for a catch, Jesus says, as we just heard in our scripture this morning. And you all certainly know about going deep, if you will. But I also venture to say that if you're anything like me, while you know about going deep, you may not always like that very much. And I think that we would all say that going deep is usually easier said than done. It's so much easier, don't you think, to sort of stay on the surface of things, in the shallow end, if you will, as opposed to in the deep end. It's so much easier to not only acknowledge or not acknowledge, but when we're actually holding on to the shallow end of things, maybe to not even be conscious of the broad range of challenging emotions, things like fear or doubt or anxiety or hopelessness that may sort of be lurking just underneath the surface of things in our lives on any given day. It's so much easier, don't you think, to categorize everything under the sun as being either black or white or good or bad, when all the while we sort of instinctively or intuitively know deep down in our hearts that there are a million contradictions, paradoxes, and shades of gray in life. It is so much easier, don't you think, to make everything an either-or as opposed to a both-and, to live in a completely dualistic universe, if you will, where, for example, God is always over there and we're always over here, where the bad guys are always over there and we, of course, the good guys are always over here, that those who are in here and those who are out there. Instead of seeing the divine interconnectedness and unity that really does exist in everything that ever has been or ever will be in all of creation. Amazingly and mysteriously, just stop and ponder this for one moment. All of creation is somehow a part of us. And we are somehow mysteriously a part of all of creation. Those of us in here are a part of they who are out there, and they who are out there are a part of us who are in here. Just ponder for one moment the magnitude of amazement of that. It's so much easier, I think, unfortunately, to use our religion to justify ourselves, as opposed to using our religion, as Jesus most certainly did, to justify the whole world and all of creation. It's so much easier, I think, to be sort of distracted and enamored by everything that's going on the outside and avoid what's really going on the inside. It's so much easier to think that our faith is primarily about what we believe as opposed to who we are and what we do. That through some kind of intellectual descent to some kind of belief or church doctrine, that we can somehow believe our way into righteousness or right action, as opposed to letting our righteousness or our right action transform our believing and thinking along the way. It's so much easier for us to hold on, I think, for dear life to everything that we've been taught, instead of considering that there might be some things to question and challenge and unlearn and reform, which is exactly, as we know, what Jesus' ministry was all about: challenging and questioning and unlearning and reforming. Now, maybe, I don't know, it's so much easier I think, possibly, for us to let our minds and our hearts and our eyes sort of glaze over with what I'm saying right now. And maybe say, oh, Pastor Steve, it's a little bit too early in the morning for me to be thinking this deeply. Or to truly feel the feelings that get evoked when we actually do ponder leaving some of the shallow ends of things and going out into the deep waters. But even so, even though it is so much easier, I think, to live on the surface of things, what I know is that you all absolutely know about going deep. Much deeper. You know about coming upon something in your life that you absolutely by yourself simply couldn't handle, and you therefore need to ask somebody for help. You know about hitting that proverbial brick wall and crying out to God, I don't know what to do, I don't know where to go, I don't know how I'm going to get through this. You know about the dark night of the soul and feeling that complete and utter helplessness and hopelessness. And in those times, you go deep. In those times, you have gone deep. You've been patently conscious of your great need. You've been deeply aware that you weren't in control and that whatever you had been thinking or feeling up to that point had not obviously been working. And so you became willing to push away from the shallow end of things and venture out into the deep waters. Or in other words, the way I like to talk about it is that you became willing to die before you die, if you will. You became willing to let go of and die to old ways of thinking and being that had already obviously failed you. And when you realized that you didn't have to hold on to those things, that in and of itself became new life and freedom for you. Well, as we also heard in our scripture this morning, Peter was initially very skeptical. Did you catch that? Very skeptical and balked at Jesus asking him to cast his nets out into the water because, after all, what had he been doing? He'd been fishing all night long and hadn't caught a single fish. But ultimately, as we heard, Peter trusted Jesus and cast his nets out into the deep water, and the result was he and the disciples got 2 boatloads worth of fish. I think Peter was able to trust Jesus because, as it turns out, this was one of the first moments that Peter had been introduced to Peter. Just before this day, Jesus had brought healing to Peter's mother-in-law, and so Peter had at least a smidgen of a reason to trust. And you know, so do we as well. Actually, I think we have more than a smidgen of a reason to trust, right? We're not just meeting Jesus for the first time. We've been on the journey for a long time, unlike Peter and the other disciples at that particular point. And how many times have we left the comfort and security of what we thought we knew and shoved off from the shoreline, if you will, or the shallow waters, and ventured out into the deep waters to find out, actually, that God was already there waiting for us, not only to help us navigate those deep waters, but also then to fill our hearts with such greater strength and hope. How many times have we shoved off from the shoreline, knowing in advance that all we could do was place our lives in God's hands and trust that somehow, some way, God would make a way for us? How many times have we taken risks for what we sensed God was calling us to do and experienced as a result a kind of personal transformation and re-energized spirit that we would be hard-pressed to ever be able to express fully in words? Such is the case, I think, most of us know for those who have been able to go on mission trips or projects along the way. Those those folks invariably say that when they go on those missions, they go because it says God was calling them to do it, and they go with the idea that they're going to help others. But invariably, at the end of the trip, what turns out happening is they feel as though they were the ones who had been helped along the way. It is easier to sort of stay in the shallow end of things. But I wonder where, in your particular life today, God might be calling you to go deeper. I wonder where God might be calling us as a church to go deeper together right now. I've been thinking about these things. I have no idea whether or not God might be calling us to go deeper together as a church at this particular time, and in what area that might be. But what I do know is that in my own life, God is always calling us to go deeper. Deeper into willingness to leave comforts and securities that we've known that turn out really not to work for us. Deeper into the mystery so that we can experience the joy of finding out that God is already there waiting for us. Deeper into dying to old ways of thinking and being so that we can experience the joy of new life and freedom that God wants to give us. This morning, I just want to invite you to think about all the shorelines that you've left behind, all of the shorelines that are represented by the combined years of everyone who is here this morning. Think about all of the deep waters that have been fished or swam in or navigated that are represented in the combined years that are here this morning. We know about going deep. We know about going deep. And I'm just wondering where God might be calling each of us and all of us together to go deeper in our lives right now. Wherever it is, wherever that may be, we can all be assured that like those 2 boatloads of fish, God's love and grace and abundance will be right there to help us navigate those waters and also to fill our minds and hearts with more strength and more hope than maybe ever thought was possible. Thanks be to God. Amen.